Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Passionpreneur series. I'm your host, Brandy, and this is the number one spot for entrepreneurs, content creators, and thought leaders. You guys, okay, I know I say this every single video, but I truly am excited for today's guest. You guys, we have Stephanie Gilbert in the house. Hey, Stephanie.
Hello. I love that intro. I feel so hyped. Like I feel so special being, I don't care if you say it about other people either. I feel like it was just for me.
Well, I think I'm just always so excited about every episode and the opportunity to connect and meet entrepreneurs, especially ones who are doing what I want to do, what I strive for, and just the chance to be able to share you with my audience, with other people, with the world, and help you get your message out as well. It just that's what lights me up more than anything.
I can tell. Yeah. I mean, it's infectious too. It's infectious. I love it. Well, thank you for having me. I'm like extremely excited to be here. I'm very honored to be one of the people you're excited to chat with.
Yes. So just a little background on Stephanie and how we came to be. Stephanie, I want to do this right, get my notes in front of me. Stephanie''s business is called The Social Media CEO. Now, her original business was Small Talk Social. Is that correct? Okay, Small Talk Social. And so just like me, just like you, with our little social media agencies, our little boutique agencies, managing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clients and trying to do it all, she quickly realized there was a better way. And it included creating systems and having boundaries set up and just knowing how to communicate with your clients. And you guys, I mean, whether you are a social media manager or you're in a service-based business or coach, I believe the same rules apply. It comes down to how can you run your business so efficiently that you don't feel like you're living it, that you actually have breaks, that you can take a day off and everything won't crash down because you're not present. That is the heart of being an entrepreneur. That's why we get into this, not to work ourselves to death.
Right. When you say freelancer, like managing, I think, or juggling, like the beginning feels like juggling.
Exactly. So you do that for a short time, you learn, you get better at it, and you scale, and then you're able to just delegate or do the parts of your business that you really love. And so for me, I was at a point, and I actually haven't voiced this before, but I was at a point in my own business where I was really ready to throw in the towel. I mean, I was like, I can't handle any more clients. I'm exhausted. My creativity level is 0. And I told Stephanie earlier, like, I don't remember how I actually found her or her product, her website, any of that. I just know it showed up one day and it was at the right time. It was the perfect timing. And I learned there was a better way and that I wasn't necessarily doing it wrong. There was just a better way of operating. And from that point on, I changed the entire way that I ran my business. I handled my clients. I enrolled new clients, all of it. So my goal from this episode is that, one, you get to know Stephanie. You follow her, you check out her products, her services, you love her the way I do. And also that if you are in a spot in your business where you feel the same way and you're really struggling, that this episode shines some light on some things that you might be able to tweak starting today and help you to fall back in love with your business again and grow it and be that rock star, kick-ass entrepreneur that you've always envisioned yourself being. So I'm going to stop talking now because I could go on and on.
I could keep listening. That's great. Yeah.
No, but seriously, Stephanie, I would love for you to take over and please give us a much more detailed account of who you are, why your business exists, and why we should listen to you. Like, who are you?
Yeah, who am I? Who is she? I ask myself that every day looking in the mirror, especially these days. Who are you? But yeah, I mean, like you said, I started out 5 years ago as a freelancer offering social media services. I left a very long stint in like corporate retail management, a lot of those, for a very long time managing stores, but I accidentally got to handle an Instagram account for a very large like retail company. And I was like, this could be a job. Like this whole thing can be a job. Right. And so I started just asking friends of friends who owned businesses, local businesses, can I, manage your Instagram account? Can I manage your Facebook? I think this is something everybody needs. And at the time it wasn't as big as it is now, right? Where everybody knows they need to be on it. I was sort of convincing and letting people, asking people if I could test and try it out. So Small Talk Social was born, even though I kind of presented myself as a boutique agency. For a long time, it was just me, juggling, like I said, all of the things. And after getting about 3 clients, I realized that like you mentioned, was immediately like, I'm overwhelmed. I've got so much to do. I want to do a great job for all of these businesses, but it's hard to keep up with the changes that are constantly happening in social media. The platforms were constantly changing. It just felt like I was responding, reacting instead of being really proactive. And I had a moment where I wanted to quit too, where I was like, maybe it was just easier working for someone else and letting them tell me how to do everything. I knew I wanted the freedom. I knew I wanted to be my own boss, but it didn't feel like freedom. What my business had become felt like a long list of to-dos, and I was working way more hours than I ever was at any of the jobs I had before. And all of a sudden I was making way less. So it was just like this huge perfect storm of like, wait, this is not what I signed up for. This is not why I quit my job with benefits and vacation time and all of those things. But I luckily had been in management for so long, and it had been, kind of gone through the like corporate world of structure, that I had at least an idea of what I could potentially do with a remote business, that I knew I needed some systems. I knew I needed to be more efficient, and I knew I needed some team members, because that's what I had been doing for so long. And I'm like, I can't, while you can do everything, should you? Probably not. So I ended up bringing on one sort of very, very part-time, terrified to be able to pay somebody else when I was undercharging at the time, trying to pay myself. And I'm like, but I knew I needed to invest in having some help if I wanted to grow the business where I wanted. So it was sort of the kickoff point. And, I guess we could say the long story short is the rest is history. I built a 6-figure business within 9 months of making that decision to raise my prices, to work with a specific kind of client, to bring on a team. And then I was able to pay more than just one person. I was able to pay myself and this team. And so very quickly, I attribute a lot of that growth, not only to like finally valuing the services that I was offering and pricing them correctly, but also niching down, getting very specific about who I was serving and how I was showing up, not trying to be everything to everyone. And third, like trusting that I could find people that could like help me, that I could outsource it to. But all of that meant that I had to create systems, like standard procedures that happened inside of my business day in and day out for all of my clients, so that I could actually like step back, train people easily, and then, be the CEO of the business. And so from there, after scaling the business, I got really excited, of course, and was like shouting from the rooftops about how I'd like built an actual boutique social media marketing agency for women and by women. And people started asking me how I did it. And then I started leading retreats, because, you're working on social media and in the online world all the time. You never get to really like see people in real life. And I'm like, maybe a real life element to this would be very cool. And so I ended up hosting this was about almost 3 years ago now, my first CEO Yeah retreat. And that's what I called them, as CEO Yeah. So it was kind of, the idea was to invite a bunch of social media managers who were worn out, juggling, didn't know what to do, out to Palm Springs, and to teach them over 3 days how I had scaled my business to 6 figures. So sort of the original framework of like now what has become the business I have now, the Social Media CEO.
Oh,
and so I still host retreats, but it's sort of open to all business owners, but we still talk about scaling, pricing. Of course, this year has been a little different. I had to cancel my Palm Springs retreat because of COVID, but I plan in the future to have those. And I think the in-person thing is very magical. But the Social Media CEO's entire purpose and mission is to empower women or female identifying, social media managers out there. And the thing is, I've got we don't discriminate. There are guys in there too, right? But I think like with our branding and the way that we sort of are trying to offer an opportunity to women who want to stay home, they want to leave corporate, they want to stick home with their kids or start a family, but they don't want to not have this like a business, something that they can do and put out into the world, or that the social media savvy friend who everybody asks to pick their brain and for help. They want to turn this into something that's like sustainable and profitable, that can give them the kind of life of freedom that they want while bringing in a decent, income month to month. And that's what we do, is we teach people exactly how to do that, the framework. We give them the remote system so they can run it from anywhere. I say it's like a work from anywhere business. You can take it on the road with you. You can close your laptop and actually go on vacation, because the systems run for you. You've got to we teach you how to outsource and all of those things. So it's really just the deep down mission is to give women the freedom to, provide a service to help other businesses succeed while being able to create more of a lifestyle around their business where they actually can set their own hours and set their own prices and work with only who they want to. So freedom is a big value word for me.
I love
That's
that.
it. That's the long story, the rambling of what I do in a nutshell.
That was perfect. That was perfect. Yeah. Freedom and empowerment are my two words.
Love it. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. So off the bat, first question. Since you started working when you started working for yourself, you were by yourself initially, and then slowly you built your team. How did you figure out when you transitioned from just being a social media manager to now I'm teaching other social media managers how to do this? How did you figure out your niche? Were you your ideal client to begin with, or is she actually a little different than you or completely different than you?
I think, well, when it comes to like who we serve, is that what you mean? Like the niche of like who our business was going to serve? Yeah. So I think that's kind of how I start teaching people. It's like, you need to identify who your ideal client is, right? It kind of is a pillar that helps you build everything else out. Like, what are you going to offer them? How are you going to help them if you don't know who it is that you're trying to help? But I do think, and I give permission to try it all. And there's got to be a little grace in that first few months, right, of offering the service, because we might think we know who we want to work with. And then we get that experience and we're like, wait, that probably isn't who I wanted. That was the case for me. I tried a lot. So it was like a bag of mixed nuts was my roster. Like, which ones do I want to try? And then eventually I was like, okay, it's only cashews. That's the only people I want to work with are cashews. But it started out with like pecans and pistachios and peanuts, and I don't even like those. So I had like individual, like personal brands. I had local businesses that I had to physically go in and out of their business like once a week to get like a boutique, like to get, pictures of new product, things like that. I had to go to a hair salon. I had someone who developed WordPress sites that she was like the face of the business. I had a men's watch company. So I was, kind of hustling out there and like connecting with people and getting referrals and working with literally anyone. And I would do anything for them. I was kind of like, yes, just saying yes to all of it. Right. And I think there's a part of that that's good, because for me, it was learning what I don't like by doing it. And then I was able, through the process of elimination, to go, okay, well, where we're really able to get the best results and where we really thrive, or where I really thrive. And then of course, bringing on a team member where I felt like we were able to really like hone in was, I got the opportunity to work with a product brand. It was like a baby food company, and they were consumer packaged good. We loved their mission. We loved what they were all about. They were a startup. They actually had a budget to put into social media. All these things I realized were very important to me. Right. I couldn't have told you from outside of that experience what it was, what my values were, and what I wanted in an ideal client. But after having a lot of experiences that I knew just weren't it, I was able to say, this is the model for, if we could get more of this, like, yes, please, like, thank you, more.
Yes.
That was kind of how so if that makes sense, it's like I say when I'm teaching people to choose their ideal client, there's like, there's a lot of information out there. You can Google, like, how do I decide who my ideal client is? And there's like a Venn diagram, and there's like a chart, and we can all just kind of like throwing a dart and trying to hit a target. But I think a lot of it is just, beta testing, trying, having conversations with them, and then also looking at your skill set. Like, what platforms do I like? Because you don't have to do them all. And what kind of results do I think I can get? And then from there, you're like, well, who benefits most from this? Like, who can I act? Because they're not going to stick with you if you can't get them results. So that's a big part of it too.
Oh, that is gold right there. Okay, so give me the timeline once more. You said, so you've been in business for 5 years. Mm-hmm. From starting with that initial job,
juggling.
And I love how you said you accidentally became manager of an Instagram.
Yeah, it was an accident. It's like, hand it to you. You're like, okay.
I love that. Yeah. So from that initial job to actually hiring your first part-time person, that timeline was?
That was about a year, I think, like of me just kind of fumbling through it, getting a few clients, doing some odd jobs, you know, kind of having clients come and go within like a 3-month period, you know, like a lot of trial and error. And then it was when I got the kind of ideal client, you know, on my roster just randomly. I think they found me on Upwork or something. So I had something there. So they came from the outside and not like a friend referral or anything. But at that point, I felt confident enough in the experience that I had to really go, okay, it's going to cost an actual amount per month. And I priced myself right. And in that, I felt like, okay, I need to bring in somebody to help because I want to do more of this. And the person that I brought to help me, actually, we go way back. Like we've known each other for over 15 years. She worked with me in all those retail jobs, right? So I already knew, I think she just felt comfortable. I know some people are a little like nervous about outsourcing and handing their business off. And so here's where I think this worked out in my favor is that because I knew her and she knew me, it was allowed to be messy because it was messy. And I brought her into that chaos and just the look on her face, like she came over to my house and I'm showing her that I'm managing all these clients on different, I was bootstrapping. So I didn't want to pay for any of the scheduling platforms. I was like, I have this client on the free version of Later. I have this client on the free version of Hootsuite. You have to sign out of that and go into this, here's Planoly. And she's just like never touched an Instagram account before. God. And I'm like, I'm going to teach you everything I know. And I like blew her mind within the first 5 minutes. And that was sort of what dawned on me. Like, I think we're going to need some systems because it was all in my head and it made perfect sense if it was just me doing it. But that was sort of the moment where I was like, okay, if you're going to let other people in, she knows me. She's going to forgive me for the absolute, like, just garbage can that my business is right now. But like, she helped me kind of, she shadowed me and helped me facilitate like what are now the same systems that we use. And that was, like about 4 years ago that I really like started taking it seriously. And that, I mean, it literally didn't take, I don't think 60 days after bringing her in to go, okay, let's try an internship program and get some other hands in here and see if we can find some other contractors that we feel like are going to be like right for the business. And then I started feeling more confident having her manage that piece, us having systems in place. And then I started getting on the phone and making those sales calls and bringing people in at my much higher prices. And that's how fast it was able to happen once I was removed from the day to day. And so within that 9-month period after bringing her on, I hit 6 figures in my business. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, this is what's possible if you have these things in place. But and then I had to just reverse engineer it so I could share it with other people. Like, what did I actually do and how did I get there? And it's been possible for other people that have gone through my program and that I've worked with and mentored. Like, it's a process that anyone, like you said, with the service, it's not even just social media managers, but it's something that every service-based coach, business owner really needs. And it's possible in that way.
Yeah, when you said 9 months, I'm like, okay, wait a minute. I need the timeline again because I'm thinking like, okay, you must have had some things in place already where it was just, that easy. But you
within 9 months of the process of scaling. Yeah. So when I did it intentionally, it was not like I accidentally made a 6-figure salary the first 9 months of my business. No, I fumbled through about the first year before bringing anybody in. And then within 9 months, I was able to go, okay, here's where we are.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. So perfect transition. My next question. So right now, the way your business stands, does your team also bring in clients, or is it just you going out or clients speaking directly to you before you take them on?
Well, as of this past month, we are not working with clients anymore, which is kind of wild. Yeah, I know, which sounds so crazy, but it's kind of, my big thing has always been, I want to have a business where I can, this training, mentoring, like teaching, learning, executing and then teaching has always been kind of where I gravitate to. And so as soon as I was able to scale my business and all of that was just operating without me, and I started creating the program and teaching other people how to do it, I found that like, this is where I really want to be. And so for the last year and a half, we have had it where my team takes care of, like, I'll onboard a client. I never had a salesperson or anybody bring anybody in. What would happen is that I would take the call, talk to them, pitch them the service, kind of go over the onboarding process with them, and then hand them off with a strategy to the team, and they would take care of the rest, set up the systems for them and start handling it. So that was the process. I never did completely disconnect myself, because on my team, strategy is my number one strength, like a Clifton assessment, sort of like strategy is my place. And I knew that, you know, I can see and connect the dots. And so instead of trying to hire somebody to do that piece, I would do it and then tell them this is what we want to happen. And they would come up with the step-by-step, you know, system for everything. But I just found that I was like less and less excited to do it for clients and more excited to do it with like other people for like their businesses and clients. And like it's like mentoring other social media managers for me is like having like 10 different businesses at once and getting to kind of play and touch and have ideas for a lot of other agencies, which is really fun. But yeah, so what I would have done if I was going to keep my agency, and we had talked about this too, I just ended up saying, where does my body, like feel it in my body, like where do I actually want my energy to go? Yeah. And my head of social Ashley has actually taken those clients on her own. So it's almost like we've been with them for so long. She's now running that show. She's my head of social, and she's able to like kind of step in and go, okay, these are my clients now, which has been really nice and not at all hard for my clients who have been with us for so long, right? Like there's not really a transition. They're just not talking to me like every month or so. So I was going to bring in a strategist. Like that would have been the next move, right? If I want to fully pull myself away and still have this agency, a strategist would have been the next step, because I don't want to have to get pulled in when things like COVID happen, or like when there's like huge world events that we need to get in and re-strategize. But that was what was happening. And I think it was those events of this year that me kind of feeling like, oh, in the past I would have been like gung-ho, like let me help them out of this situation. But I could feel myself like, I feel like while I love my clients and want to see them succeed, I knew that what I would rather have been doing was like working on the online side of my business and building out more programs. I have some big plans that I haven't yet, like, yeah. So that's like, we'll have to talk again when I have this. So if that makes sense, I'm trying to like, why did she let go of her agency? Like agencies are cool. Like I loved everything about the business that I've had for the last 4.5 years. Yeah. And it's been a beautiful thing to have. And I've loved all the clients that we've like chosen to work with, because we got to that point where we were choosing them. But I feel like it's time for me to like play bigger, and that's what I'm about to do in the next stage of my business. So
I love that. That is exactly the way it should be. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm curious I know you have to have a coach. Like there is someone that you look to, a mentor, a coach. Who do you look to, or who I can't even talk now, I'm so excited. Who has inspired you to do this?
I think it's a lot of people, a collaboration of people that have like come into my life. I've had different business coaches that I've used to get me from place to place. Like when I worked with a coach when I was like, oh, I threw my first retreat, I'd like to turn this into a business. And I worked with a coach for 6 months on making that happen. Right.
Oh, wow.
And then, so I'm working with a business coach right now, actually for DE&I, because as I build my business and want to bring, new team members in, she's a business coach and someone who's got experience in like diversity, equity, inclusion. So I want to make that a part. So she's a coach that I'm working with now that I'm really excited about. Her name's Latoya from Your Big Debut. And also I'm about to work with Rachel Rogers, who is her business is called Hello 7, and she helps 6-figure business owners go to 7. And so I feel like I've sort of stair step where I'm like, okay. So I listen to Amy Porterfield. I've always really enjoyed, and she's really big on online marketing and online courses, things like that. I've taken courses, product launch formula, Tribe for memberships. Like I'm kind of a junkie when it comes to like, how do you build lots of passive income? What are the formulas and the methods that are working for these online marketers, and how can I get my information out to as many people as possible and like really help people build those lives of freedom? And so while having my own agency has been really cool, I feel like I can help so many more people by helping them build their own.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's get into the nuts and bolts of that, which starts with, I'm thinking, creating the systems. So figuring out for them, what's working, what's not working in your business, where can we streamline, become more efficient. I feel like there's two separate systems we need to talk about. So there's the system that you create for working with your team, for building a team, and the system you create for working with your clients.
Yep.
Where do you start first?
Which one? I'll tell you the way that it worked for me was that I built the one for my clients because I was already, like I've said, like juggling clients. And so I knew I think when doing anything repeatedly, like offering a service, even if you think that the thing that you're doing is like so creative that you're pulling it out of your head every day, you're not, right? Like it's something in you, even if you are not like super organized, like there's something that you're doing that's repetitive, or that you can make a template out of, or that you can create some sort of checklist. And so I think what I always tell people is like, take what you're doing on a day-to-day basis for your clients and just start turning that into a checklist. So
that's good.
you take what you're doing daily, weekly, monthly. It's a really easy process. You go like, what am I doing? And if you're not sure, then just keep a journal for a month. Like every single day, write down what you did from start to finish, Monday through Friday. And then like, what did I do this week overall? And then what do I do like as a weekly process? And then what do I do every month? Like maybe like sending reports or having like, check-in calls. So once you've like established what you're doing daily, weekly, and monthly, you can break down to like, is this even necessary? First of all, because there's a lot of stuff we're probably doing that's not. But then you can figure out, well, is this something I want to continue doing? Or is it something that I can outsource? And even if it's something that I can outsource, is it something I can automate? Because a lot of times you don't even need to have somebody doing it for you. You can just set up some sort of automation, or there's a platform that's going to make that happen. Or you can create, like I said, templates and swipe copy, things that can just be easily like canned emails, right? And Gmail, simple things like that will start to save you time and shave off a lot of the busy work that you're doing. So that's the first step, is just to take inventory of what it is that you're even doing every day, where you're spending your time.
Okay.
And then from there, once you figure out if it's stuff that you want to keep doing, or if it's stuff that you need to automate or outsource, you take the automate and the outsource and you figure out who's doing it, who's out, who am I outsourcing it to? And if it's finding, I think VAs are really great to start out with, right? Because a lot of VAs will help you create the system. That's a hack, right? A hack is like,
I never thought about that.
Getting a virtual assistant. But all of this to say that a lot of the processes, like I love the platform Loom, right? Because you can just work through that process in real time while you're doing it and just say it out loud. Actually, this is something I'm having. One of my team members, Megan, she wants to help me with some bigger projects as I scale my business in this new direction. And I'm like, well, you have this on your plate, so we can hand it off to our VA team, but I'm not telling them how to do it. You've been doing it, so I need you to create the process for them. I know she has a process, but it's not like she's doing it.
Right.
So the whole goal is to just have her, while she's doing it this last month, to record it on Loom, and then they'll be able to turn that into a step-by-step, repeatable sort of process. So while that's all it's time consuming to create it, it will save you so much time in the future, and it cuts out a lot of questions. So if you were to come in on my team tomorrow and I gave you like and I'm just like, hey, you seem like you could probably do this task, I would hand you our like kind of standard operating procedure, right? I'd hand you the task card and I would say, here's how to do it. And it would be broken into a checklist of exactly how we do it and the expectation. And you should be able to just plug in with very few questions and be able to do it. Send it over to us. We could check it, make sure. So that alone gives you that's that sense of freedom that I'm looking for, while being a control freak, because you know what I mean? Like, well, if people are like, how do I do this if nobody can do it as good as me? And it's like, well, first of all, stop expecting them to be a clone of you to do it as good, because they're never going to be able to meet that level of like, they're never going to care about your business as much as you care about it, even if they really care about you and your business. And I've learned that. I have some of the most caring team members who've loved me. Like I said, I've had in my life for 15 years, and she still will never care about my business like I do. But she cares 80%, and she can get things done up to 80% of the time as good as I would do them. And then I can go in and tweak and fluff and make the 20% happen. And I value the time that saves me, having the team and the system in place.
And so, okay, so then, you just set it up for clients, set it up for your team. The same way.
Yeah, the same way. It's really just like, because the thing that the team is working off is really the system for the clients. Now, the difference in the team, I really have like a process for, I guess, like finding and vetting and interviewing team members or working with contractors, right? And bringing them into my business, whether they're like a contractor or a team member, in a way that they understand like what our values are, like our mission is, and all of that. But The way that we manage the team, especially with everybody being remote and spread out, is that we have a communication. We've got Zoom, we have Slack, and we have scheduled meetings on the calendar, right? So everything else is really just happening inside of Slack. We call that kind of our it's our remote office, like water cooler, where we can chat with each other. And we have Monday Zoom calls to like go over everything. And we used to have Friday calls too, like bookends in the week, but I try to eliminate as many like needless meetings as possible. So it's gotten to the point where everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing, that it's done by Friday. And if there's anything that's not done, they'll let me know inside of Slack. So slowly but surely take the training wheels off and feel more confident. But that now we're going to start having meetings for like content, like blog content, things like that. And when new processes are introduced, we have a few more meetings until everybody feels confident in the workflow. And then we try to just let everybody work with as much autonomy as possible, because I think that's also part of the reason people become, business owners and contractors. It's to not have like the typical
that boss
corporate
over
boss. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly. When you start, okay, so your first team member was a friend.
Mm-hmm.
Even though she's a friend, or maybe now for your students who you mentor, do you suggest that they just give bite-sized pieces off until, as they get comfortable delegating work?
I think it depends on their personality, right? Like, so, yeah, a lot of the women that I've worked with through the mentorship program, and even that are just part of the social media CEO Clubhouse and just social media managers I know, I think maybe a lot of them are like me and feel very like, you feel protective. It's your business, it's your baby, and you're a little controlling and you expect things to be done a certain way. So yeah, it does. That's why I suggest VA sometimes as like, take the admin work off first and cut 5 hours off your week and see how that feels.
Right.
And then once you do take the time to put those processes together and create some sort of standard way of doing things that align with your expectation, some of the easiest things, if we're talking about social media managers, to hand off like community management. Super time consuming. It's important from like a customer service, like level. But it can be with like templated replies and like a good guideline of like what you can't say. You can hand that off to anybody. And that's such a time consuming thing that it gives you back a lot of your time. And it's not where a social media CEO should not be digging into like replying to DMs and replying to stories and replying to comments all day. That's something you can easily pass off. Also like content curation, like we have to post a lot of content, right? So if you batch things out, like go out and find me, 20 new images or source some stock photography. If it's not being provided by your client, that's an easy one. That also, though, I say it's easy if you've got people visually who can like get the aesthetic, because that's different, right? It's different. You have to still create style guides and like, this is a good photo because this, and this is a good photo, or this isn't a good photo because of that. Like there's, I guess the tangent there is with anything that we're doing online, like with whether it be copy, any sort of creative outlet, right? Copy, visuals, I'm trying to think of like what else, just literally like anything that we're putting out into the world, like it's subjective, right? Like we have to remember that like we have to be able to communicate the expectation and the feedback in a way that people can understand, and we don't all understand that the same way. I learned that from working with my last corporate. It was a very creative like retail space, and it would be like they would walk by and kind of look at displays that you created and be like, no, I don't like it. Or yeah, I like it. But like, if they don't give you a reason, it's really hard not to repeat it. You're like, well, what don't you like about it? How can I improve? And so with my head of social and I both coming from that as a background, we understood that like that we were going to need to communicate, like, when someone would come onto our team and they would be curating content for us, we would say, like, she would have to pull out images and say like, no, because, blah, 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 and or yes, because, until they sort of could understand the cues of like what we're looking for when it came to like content creation or curation. So I know sometimes people who've never been in like a management position or led a team, one of the biggest frustrations is like not being able to like get the output, or for the people to feel like they're not getting it. And I think that's one of the big roadblocks, is that we don't know as leaders how to communicate clearly what it is that we expect when it comes to visual things. So
absolutely. I mean, I 100% agree. I was very fortunate that when I was working for someone, my last boss, he explained everything in story, and it drove me up
The Wong.
When I left and I, took on a VA or a part-time person here or there, I realized how valuable that was. And that was just his way of explaining why something worked or why it didn't.
Well, probably anchored in your brain, right?
That
Like the
too,
story, we know that storytelling is powerful just in
Yes.
marketing because it attaches us to something. Like emotionally,
Exactly.
we can get to it, and it's something. It's easier to remember than like stats and data or
Yes.
feelings that people have. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, telling me, I don't like that because I feel like that
Yeah,
doesn't
it makes
really
me
help
feel, I
me.
don't feel it. And I'm like I don't care about your feelings. Like maybe you're
Exactly.
hungry. I don't know, like this isn't helping me improve. And so, yeah,
Right.
those are definite, like, it's funny, right? What we take, I think we're trying to build like an anti-corporation kind of like business, but what we take from, there are lessons sprinkled throughout our lives and all the
Absolutely.
experiences that we've had that we can turn into something positive for sure.
Absolutely. So, I mean, you said you have a lot of big things in the works. Where do you ultimately see this going? Or are you just kind of like just riding it and seeing where it takes you?
Yes, yeah, both. So I've got like, it's a little of like, I do like to feel my way in, and it's something like I don't like to be. I have commitment issues. That's it. So like I have always had sort of a bigger mission for. I think even when I started my business, while I didn't see this in the future, like what Social Media CEO even is right now, I do sort of lead with the gut and let my intuition tell me whether that's like firing a client or like, bringing somebody on my team before I feel like financially ready. Like it's a little bit of going with the flow, but there's still a bigger piece where I'm just looking at like, how can I affect, I guess, as many people as possible. I'm on the tip of like what it is. My husband gets annoyed at me because I see the potential in people that they don't see in themselves. And I try to pull it out of them, even if they don't want me to. And that I like have, it's like, we're just meeting somebody casually for drinks. And I'm like, let me tell you how that's a business. Like, that's like my sort of like,
Yeah.
So I think that my superpower in this whole online world could be to continue to help women, like whether that's one-on-one through like mentorship, or online through these programs, to recognize that potential and turn it into something that gives them, like I said, more freedom and the autonomy to work that does not strap them into somebody else's dream or processes or weird place to get harassed or any of that stuff, right? It's like
Right.
them kind of being able to take the wheel. And so that doesn't have to always look like what it looks like right now, which gives me the freedom that I crave inside of the business. But right now, what it is and where I know that I can be of service is helping people create agencies that can make them a lot of money and run very easily, and get that set up very quickly. And what I do see in the future and what I'm working toward is more of a, where if you're somebody who wants to, you just discover like, oh, I'm great at social media, or I just graduated, I'm in social media, I want to do this, but I'm not sure how. Social Media CEO is the hub for you to go to learn everything that you need to do to not only like start, systemize, and scale the business, but also keeps you up to date on how to continue to serve your clients and customers like better than anyone else. Like what we're like on the cusp of always keeping you up to date so that you can just tune into what the Social Media CEO is doing and know exactly how to serve your clients and customers better. You could be, if they know you're a social media CEO, they're going to pay you the money for it because they know you've got the systems and the training and the team, and that you are showing up in the world as somebody who like knows what
I love
doing.
that.
Does that make sense? Yeah. So just from a branding perspective, I would love to have a certification and a training, and that's something that I'm going to be working on in the future, is like people being proud to say that they're social media CEOs, and that being something that gets them better clients and better, higher rates, and that they're trained in a way that puts them out into the world to help other businesses.
I love that.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. You're the first person I know who's doing something like this, who wants to take it that next step and actually be like accredited.
Yeah.
Like stamp of approval.
Right.
I have gone through Stephanie's training.
Right.
You can count on me for this. I love that.
Yeah. And I'm looking for, I think in the future, and this could be something that we could talk about, is, finding women who have gone through the training. Again, scaling and outsourcing, my systems are not just inside of my head now. Other people know them and use them and have used them to scale their own businesses, and they have their own experience. And so I'm looking at them as being mentors to the new recruits as they come in, and teaching and training on my systems, and being able to, you know, be there to mentor the next the freshmen of social media CEOs, right? So
that by itself is going to be so powerful. I mean, you could speak, you know, from here until the end of time about your business because you know it, you put it together, but to have people who have gone through it and have proven success through it, you know, and for them to be the ones to now pass on that torch. That's huge.
I think so. I'm excited. I'm excited about it because it does feel like, you know, if I can one at a time create more freedom in someone's life, and then like that spider webs out, that makes me really excited, because there's nothing that I like more than getting like DMs and emails of like, this changed my life. Like I did this, and like I'm making more money, and I quit my job, or I was able to like leave my husband, or like whatever it is somebody wants to do, right? That I was like, okay, cool. Like that nothing makes me happier than like playing a part in that in any like small way. That purpose feels really, really good to me. So
how many women do you know, or would you guess that you have impacted already?
I mean, I'm just kidding. After this,
it might be
goes live, millions of people. No, I think, I mean, definitely thousands, you know, like, I mean, there's, you know, maybe even tens of thousands on a personal level, like in the 100 range, which is really cool. Like over the last few years, you know, but I think we never really know the impact that we make, the way it ripples out into everything. And there's something really beautiful about that, just knowing that we are all very connected. But the achiever in me really wants to like know. I like want receipts. I'm like, so tell me, did it help? Because otherwise I don't want to waste my time, you know. Like I want to see it. But yeah, I hope that one day it's tens of thousands and millions. Yeah,
it will be. It absolutely will be. So just really quickly, I don't want to take too much more of your time, but back to systems. So just if you can walk us through like a typical, maybe the first, second, third conversation you're having, or you would have had if you were still taking clients, you know, that you brought them on and you're going to now help them systematize their agency. Because like you mentioned, when you first brought in your person, you were using all the free versions. And
right.
So like, what are some of the first things we should look at as far as getting those things systematized?
So you mean from the owner of the agency, not a client who we're managing?
Correct.
Yeah. So like, okay, so I'm mentoring someone and we're looking at their systems. Well, hopefully they've already gone through my program. And so I give them I give them All Systems Scale as like homework. Like you need to go in here and just plug this in, copy and paste it. And then we can go from there. And then I'll usually like look at what it is that they're doing. But that's the first thing, is how many different platforms are you using, and how many different ways are you allowing clients to contact you or your team to contact you, and how can we eliminate all of the excess? So it's just making things efficient, right? Like you need one channel. I know people who, one of the main things is when they start working with me, they've given their clients their phone numbers, and they also have email, and then they're finding them in their DMs on Instagram, and they're finding them everywhere. And it's like, you've got to like somehow we talked about boundaries in the very beginning, and boundaries, you have to create a way. And that all really happens with your onboarding process. I think new social media managers make the mistake of they make a mistake because they don't know any better and they have never done it before. And they're too available and they say yes to all the things. Mm-hmm. And then now the client, is catching them on a Saturday with something that's like not an emergency, that's not an emergency. Because they never during the onboarding process or the like discovery call process establish that they are a business owner who has this set of boundaries, that this is the onboarding process. You can contact me between this hour and this hour on this channel, and I'll be getting back to you within this hour. And the contractors that I've worked with, I mean, that's what we do in our business, is that like there's an onboarding process. After the discovery call, they're getting their proposal, we're sending over the invoice, and then they get a packet that says, here's what you can expect, like in the order, right? And then they go out, and then they don't have questions. Some people think that that's, I don't know, I think a lot of people think that that's like too much, or like that the client's going to tell them what to do. But I know as a client myself, hiring other contractors, like say like a virtual assistant or an online business manager or something, it's always felt so good to me to feel supported, where I don't have to ask you what happens next. You're like, okay, next step is this, and now you're going to do this. Let's have a conversation, and they'll walk me through the bullet points of like, here's what you can expect from me. Just establishing that from the very beginning leaves zero questions, and everybody feels like, okay, we're all on the same page. It's when you don't have that in place that a lot of gray area happens, and everybody starts to feel chaotic. And we can blame the clients, but it's also your fault for never having established a system to bring them into your business and setting expectations from the beginning.
Right. Oh, so powerful. I mean, you guys, I hope I really hope you're hearing what Stephanie is saying here, because
I'll be taking notes.
Taking notes, exactly. Because again, whether you are a social media manager, a coach, whatever your industry is, establishing yourself as a professional. You're not just a single person here going out and doing a job, but if your goal is to ultimately have a team, have people doing work for you as well, it can't just be you and your phone and all access 24/7.
Nope, I tell you from experience, even with just 3 clients in that way, it is like way too much. You do not have a life anymore. Like, say goodbye to like all things living, because it's not at all.
And I can tell you too, just from when I started using your program as well. I mean, I had clients who I've worked with for a while come back and say, I have loved working with you. You've been great. I have to tell you, your business now feels even more professional.
There you go. Yeah.
And that was huge, because I thought I already was, I'm walking around like I got my own business.
I mean, and you were professional. That's the thing. It's like you never were delivering like a bad product or not being professional with your clients. I think it's just people like that structure. People like boundaries. And again, they like it when they don't have to ask questions. If you're answering a question that they're going to have before they have it, you're good with them. You're good because they're like, okay, cool. Like, I feel so good. And I know that I've worked with people in the past who have not had any sort of like onboarding process, and who have not made me feel supported from the very beginning, or that my questions are being answered. And I didn't stick around for very long. So I'm like, I'm not really quite sure if you've got me, or if you even know what you're doing. So yeah, it can go a long way for sure. That whole establishing that expectation is how you keep clients for a really long time, because they just know from the start. It's like dating, right? You immediately are like, this person's got me. They're great. We get each other.
Right. And they trust you.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah, it's huge.
Okay. So a couple more questions. When building your team, I know you mentioned VAs. Did you also go to say Upwork or Fiverr actually to hire people there to assist you, or was it strictly finding people who you knew would be committed to what you needed to your work?
And it was a little bit of everything. We actually worked with professors at some of the local colleges. Like, we were in Alabama, and we worked with the University of Alabama, and actually some of for an internship program. So we created like a full internship program and brought in a couple of local interns. This was all when I was building my business. So I was in Birmingham, Alabama, and that's where my head of social lives. So we were able to actually like be together and kind of build everything out from scratch there. And those interns ended up sticking with us for like, after the 90-day program was over, like we just hired them on as contractors. And like, I think out of 4 of them, we had 2 stick with us for over a year. And I've got one with me now who, like, over the last 2 years, we just celebrated her 2 years with us. And that was like an intern way back. And I think in the way that like our business is, and the things that we were having them do, it was like the perfect sort of like entry level. They had no idea that a remote agency existed like this, right? Like in school, you kind of have these ideas of what it looks like and what you can be. And the cool thing is that we've shown them how, like, as a 1099 contractor for like our business, they're able to get other clients and work with other social media managers. I work with and have shared one of my contractors who worked in all my influencer and partnership collaborations. She like went to school for PR. She's really great at it. She gravitated to it. I had another social media manager who was like, we're going to start offering influencer marketing. Do you have anybody that can like manage that program? And I'm like, yeah. So like, because she's part-time with us, we're paying, pay her hourly for like projects. Then like now I've given her a couple other clients through that, which feels really good. But my ultimate goal is as I'm building this new kind of leg of my business, is to have like team members full time. And the ones that have stuck with me for these years, like as contractors, some of them are like, we want to be on your team, you know, full time. I would
Oh,
like
I
to be able
love
to, you know,
that.
pay salaries and all of those things. So that's kind of the next level we're going for. But yeah, Upwork, I found inside of my Clubhouse, you know, like I've got a Facebook group with other social media managers. That's a good place where people are like kind of sharing each other's other contractors or helping each
Yeah.
other out with certain tasks. And also LinkedIn. I mean, I've had people connect with me on LinkedIn and brought them in for specific projects and things. So I always love referrals though, and having experience with someone. I think that's why I loved the intern so much, is because we got to like mold them based on what our expectations were. And it really felt good to be able to like, I don't know, integrate them into our way of doing things. And they were just like really like natural with it, you know, because it's how we trained them. We brought them up.
So cool. Oh, I love this. There's so many golden nuggets here. Okay, my dear. Have I missed anything? Is there anything you want to share? Any question I haven't asked?
I don't think so. I mean, I could, like I said, I think I told you before we even started recording, I could talk for like 6 hours because this is like my whole life. I love this stuff. I got to be careful though. Yeah, I'm like, it's Friday. I can see my husband's in the pool over there, so I probably should go.
That'll
like,
be our next podcast
time.
interview. Yeah.
Yeah.
The extended version.
Yeah. Hopefully by that time I will have this new 2.0 version happening and we can talk about that.
I'm so excited. I can't wait. Okay. I ask everyone this that's on the show. And it's funny because I ask this question and I would say 25% of the time I'm shocked by the answer.
Okay.
So
I hope I live up to that.
I kind of have an idea of what you're going to say, but it's
okay.
Yes.
Let me try to throw you a curveball.
Okay. So this is the Passionpreneur series.
Mm-hmm.
Have you found your passion?
I'm still searching. You know, it's funny because passion to me, like my husband and I have this, speaking of this dude in the pool out there, we have this conversation all the time because he's a musician, lifelong musician. So touring, Grammy nominated, like he's like done the thing. Like he's like a musician as a career and has a recording. Like music is his life. It is clearly his passion. And we sometimes, I think probably when we're arguing and I want to change something about my business or like shift, like we were talking about, go with the flow a little bit more. He's like, but you're always changing it. And like, you know, maybe you just need a passion. And I think it goes back to what I was saying before, is that like it's more of a deep, deep why of helping other people shine a light that's already inside of them. Like my passion is like seeing other people and hearing from other people that they finally realized that they could do a thing that they never knew they could do, which is why I gravitate so much to working with people like one-on-one and like through that training. Cause it's like, I love my clients, but I never got that from my clients that I was operating social media for. For me, we could give them great ideas. We could do strategies. We could get reports went in and that was great. Right. But there's something deeper and more, there's a passion inside of me that likes to see the sparkle in somebody's eyes when they totally understand that they can do something bigger than they are doing. That's it. That's all.
And the famous words of Marie Forleo, that is a tweetable. Yes.
Yeah. So like, cool. He can have music. I'm literally just like inspiring women. No big deal. They're just
game changer.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Which I feel like that's what you're doing too, right? These conversations, I'm sure like as ears listen and like, you know, eyes watch, it's like people just get lit up, the spark goes off and they're like, oh, I could do that. Oh, I could do that. And that's like, I don't know, the most beautiful thing is to like ignite those switch or turn those switches and knobs inside of people.
It is. And I got to tell you, like that wasn't my initial, I guess, mission when I started this. It was, it's funny, I tell this story sometimes. It was actually like a dare from my coach.
Oh my gosh.
And because I was like, I do not want to be the face of my business. I don't want to be in front of a camera. I don't want to do this, do that. And they're like, okay, here's what you're going to do. I want you to find 21 people to interview.
That's a great challenge though, right? It like stretches you outside of what you think is possible. And then somewhere in there, like you said, there's a nugget inside of that you're like, oh, wow, this is something I could really do.
Exactly. Yeah. And I didn't have a topic, a theme. They gave me nothing. They're like, just find 21 people and start a conversation and put it on video. And I just found that I loved it. And I was getting so much out of it. I'm like, other people need to experience this.
Yep. Yeah.
What else can I do with this? And it just went from there.
Well, you're so good at it. You're very, very good at it. So you fell into it. It's like somebody handed me an Instagram account. I was like, okay, I guess I'll do it.
Exactly. I love it. Stephanie, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time, your
Thank
wisdom,
you.
for spending a Friday, a beautiful freaking Friday
I know it is
afternoon
really
with us. It's so nice. And Palm Springs is amazing. That's like,
yeah.
that's my little hub. I mean, I'm in San Diego, so I'm not too far away from you.
Yeah, we've been in San Diego. Carlsbad is where we were before this. Like,
Yes.
you know, this part of California is like just the dreamiest. But we always said we were going to retire here. And I'm like, maybe next year is, I turned 39 on Monday. And so I'm like, okay, by the time I'm, right, I know I'm an old lady, but like by the time I get to 40, my plan is to be a millionaire and retire in Palm Springs. So we might be right back here.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. We might be neighbors.
Check back on me. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I keep saying I'm buying my first piece of property in Palm Springs. So we might.
Oh my God. Yes. Yes. Okay. Yeah. We'll talk about that offline because that'd be amazing. I have another friend that's just going to do that too. So we'll just build a little like village and that'll be where we'll do all kinds of creative
village.
things.
I love it. Stephanie, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. How can the audience stay connected to you?
Yeah, so I think the best way is, let me give you my phone number. I'm just kidding. I think, so Slack me. You can follow me a couple places. At Steph J. Gilbert is my personal, and at thesocialmedia.ceo on Instagram. Those are the best places. And of course you can, from those places, click through my links and find my website and all of those goodies.
Perfect. And you guys will all be in the show notes as always. And when this officially launches, it'll be in the email as well with direct links to how to get in touch with you.
Perfect.
And your website and your programs, all of that good stuff. So
amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You guys have a beautiful, beautiful day. I look forward to seeing you next week for another episode of the Passionpreneur series. And Stephanie, have a wonderful weekend.
You too. Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.